So the first type of bond that we're going to take a look at is metallic bonding. And in metallic bonding, we have multiple metals. So we have a metal plus a metal, or, more than just two. We're not going to take a big look at this. So this is generally something that's not explored much in Gen Chem. And remember that we said metals, they loosely hold their electrons. Right? These electrons are pretty free to be removed and move about. And so when you have a bunch of metal nuclei about it, we describe it as a sea of electrons. And so what that means is that the nuclei and our core electrons stay in place. And then our valence electrons are free to move around and don't necessarily belong to one nuclei. Right, one particular atom. So if we were to draw a picture of that, what we would see is we have our positively charged nuclei. And then around our nuclei, we have our electrons just kind of floating around. Remember, electrons move really fast. We can't really quite tell what they are. And so it kind of just forms a sea of electrons. And that's the same thing that this picture is showing. It just depends, whether you like your own pictures or, these more kind of fancy pictures. Either way, right, you have the metallic cations, right, our nuclei, and then we have our free electrons floating about, and then we can describe that as like an electron cloud or a sea of electrons. And if we think about the properties of metals, right, what do we use metals most often for? We use them for wires and stuff like that to conduct electricity. Well, what is electricity? It's the movement of charge, specifically electrons. And so if these electrons are free to move around in the sea, that explains their electrical conductivity. Metals are also generally quite malleable, so we can bend them without necessarily breaking them, right? We can turn them into wires, turn them into sheets, mold them into, car frames, all that kind of stuff. And if you think about the properties, the fact that these electrons are not tightly held and that these nuclei then are not tightly held to one another because they don't have kind of chemical bonds keeping them together, that also explains their malleability. But anyways, there's just a short intro to metallic bonding. Again, we're not going to focus on that. We're going to focus more on ionic, and we're going to focus a lot on covalent bonding.